Hey Chapel family, can you believe the person that I heard about at Myers a couple of days ago? I mean, that person was wearing a mask and they're wearing gloves and everybody knew that that person was sick. And so everybody did the right thing, right? We kept our distance, we shot over some dirty looks to that person, and somebody even under their breath mumbled to saying, well, I cannot believe sick people, like they should just stay at home. Well, I can tell you that yes, that person was sick, but it was my mother-in-law. And she was sick not because of the virus, but because she's battling leukemia. And she was at Myers coming from a doctor's appointment on a checkup to make sure that she could just pick up a few essential items for her to take home and to have. You see, it's so easy for us, especially in times like this, in crises like this, that we start judging other people way too easily. And I know I have done that as well, but that's why I love that the book of James actually reminds us today about that. And I want to read out of James 4, verse 11 and 12, and this is what it says. Warning against judging others. Don't speak evil against each other, dear brothers and sisters. If you criticize and judge each other, then you are criticizing and judging God's law. But your job is to obey the law, not to judge whether it applies to you. God alone, who gave the law, is the judge. He alone has the power to save or to destroy. So what right do you have to judge your neighbor? You see, James reminds us in these verses that we need to be careful not to judge, not to gossip, and not to think less of other people. You see, I know I do it way too many times. Somebody didn't meet my expectation, and without knowing all the details, without having the full picture or even trying to see their side of the story, I make a judgment call and I think less of them. But I think what James is trying to remind us here is actually a principle that we hold very highly here within even our chapel staff, which we just call trust in the gap. It's a great tool to battle this temptation of judgment. And what that means is that if somebody does something to hurt me or, intentionally or unintentionally, we have a choice. So let me give you an example. Maybe you're sitting at home right now and you're waiting for a family member to call and reach out to you, and you're starting to feel frustrated because you haven't heard from them. And well, that's the point where we can make a decision. Number one, do we just distrust them right now? I mean, maybe they don't care about us. Maybe they just have forgotten about us already, or I'm not important to them. These are all stories that we so easily can tell ourselves. But what this principle, putting trust in the gap, means is that we can also respond in trusting that person and saying, they've not reached out to me, but I trust that they still have my best interest at heart. Because maybe you find out later that they're struggling even worse than you. Maybe they're having an even harder time than you, and maybe they're sitting at their phone waiting for you to call them. You see, James reminds us that we are not the judges. That's God's job. It's not part of our job description. The other thing I noticed about this verse that I found so interesting is that James specifically talks about our words and our mouths. And I think if James would be alive today, he would probably add social media to that as well, because that's how we so many times right now express how we feel. Now, I've got kids at home, and when it comes to words, I always wonder, how do I describe this to my kids? And I love to think about words like toothpaste. Toothpaste, because it's so easy for us to say words, just like it is so easy for me to squeeze out toothpaste out of its box. But you see, the danger with words is that not only is it easy to pour out our words, it is so much harder trying to get them back into it. So as soon as we use our words, we have to be really careful. And many times I catch myself not thinking through the words first, but just blurting something out and then regretting it later because I cannot get it back into it. So as we read through today's message, as we read through the words of James, let's be reminded that we are not the judges, especially in a time like this, and that it's our responsibility to put trust in the gap and pay special attention to the words that we use. Dear Chapel family, we miss you guys. We love you. We hope to see you soon, and thanks for watching.